If you have a problem, if no one else can help, and if you can find them, maybe you can hire the A-Team. Good morning everyone, my name is Michelle, I hope you're doing well. Welcome to another video. It is Tuesday morning the 19th of November and it snowed here overnight, just a light dusting on the fields and it's pretty chilly out there. Anyway, I want to leave the Delphi investigation for today and concentrate on another case. That is the missing, soon to be 16-year-old autistic boy Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers, who has been missing now since February 26th of this year out of Hendersonville in Middle Tennessee. It's only a few miles away from Nashville. The case has become incredibly controversial, lawsuits, the full caboodle. We're going to talk about the latest in the search for Sebastian Rogers, but first I want to just show this little good news story. This is from News Channel 5 Nashville, and a missing child with autism was found. He was a little 4-year-old, only been missing 4 hours, but they got him. And it's the same team that has been searching for Sebastian Rogers. So you can see here, this is Nick Barris from News Channel 5 Nashville, and I'm going to play this little segment from them. You see Eric Craddock from the Sumner County Sheriff's Office, and you also see Ken Widener, who is the chief of the Sumner County EMA, the search people. It's a good news story.
It's hard to imagine a more serious call than that of a missing child. And when a call like that comes in here to Sumner County Emergency Management, there is an immediate response from ground and in the air. This is drone video from high above the Flat Ridge area of Whitehouse in Sumner County. An urgent search.
Whitehouse. Now that's about 8 miles north of Sebastian's home. And it's one of the areas that I speculated Sebastian might have been heading for because he's got ties to a school in Whitehouse. But alas, Sebastian has never been found. In the search for Sebastian in the early days, they covered a 5-mile radius. One of the issues, if Sebastian did wander away, is that he could have been out of that search radius by the time anybody was boots on the ground. There's always that possibility. But you can see here, this is drone video, and it's got the thermal imaging. It's easy to see these guys in the open areas where there's like clearings and so on, but difficult to spot them in places where the foliage is heavy. Bear in mind, many of the leaves will be off the trees now. In February, when Sebastian went missing, the leaves would have been off the trees there, but it's still difficult to spot people deep in the woods, however good the technology.
Was underway Friday.
A missing child. He was outside with his mom and walked off.
Sheriff Eric Craddock was among the 36 or so searchers trying to navigate through thick brush looking for a 4-year-old boy.
The terrain there is steep. Obviously it's fall. The leaves are falling. Just really rugged terrain.
But all of those leaves falling made for a clean line of sight from above through the trees, thus expanding the search quickly.
We put the drones up, and within 20 minutes of the drones being up, we had found the child in the woods.
He was spotted along the bank of a creek, and here you can see the sheriff, guided by the drone, making first contact.
That's me running up to the child. You can see there I'm grabbing the child up.
The boy was wet and shivering as Craddock wrapped him in his jacket and ran him up to EMA Director Ken Widener and the child's father.
And his dad picked him up, and just to watch that hug is amazing.
The little boy was found 1 hour after the emergency call went out. He was cold, but unharmed.
It's amazing. You got him back to his family. He's happy. He's healthy. It's the ending we always want on every case.
Since the drone program started here in Sumner County, they have had 15 finds, 15 rescues, thanks to the use of the drone.
Now, they did use drones in Sebastian's case, But again, even with the best technology in the world, if someone's deep in the woods or hiding under something that blocks the thermal imaging signals, then there's no way that you're going to see them. Is that Sebastian Rogers? Possibly. But I think probably the majority of people who are following this case do not believe that Sebastian simply walked away. Whether he just went for a walk and intended to come back, or whether he intended to run away forever, most people don't believe those possibilities and suspect foul play. Unfortunately, many people have blamed Sebastian's parents. His mother, Katie Proudfoot, was the last person to see Sebastian on the evening of the 25th of February when he went to bed. An hour or so after he went to bed, she heard noise like a thump in his room, and she asked him if he was okay, and he said, "Yes, ma'am." And that was that. She went to bed a little bit later, and when she went to get him up in the morning, he was gone. So he disappeared between about midnight and 6 a.m. on the 26th of February. It was a massive hunt in the first couple of weeks, but there's been a lot of people out there. There's been a lot of eyes on that immediate vicinity, both in terms of law enforcement and private search teams. If Sebastian is still in that local area, he's well hidden. Dog the Bounty Hunter and At Night Intelligence Agency, who, to me, the way they advertise themselves sounds like they're the modern version of the A-Team. That's why I had to put that little intro together. But look, Dog the Bounty Hunter, he's been on News Nation, he's been on Court TV. Look, he's a well-known figure. A lot of people are supporting him. He is, I guess, putting eyes on the case again. You know, people move on, cases start to, go into the doldrums, and people don't talk about it as much. And you might say, well, all the drama, at least it keeps Sebastian's name out there. And it does, but for all the wrong reasons, in my opinion. And it certainly isn't helping all of his parents. Dog the Bounty Hunter is working on the behalf of Seth Rogers, who is Sebastian's biological father. But his mother and stepdad, Katie and Chris, have received a lot of hate. And it does concern me that the hate towards them is going to increase based on the things that Dog the Bounty Hunter is saying. And for that reason, I don't think his involvement is wholly useful. This is the latest from At Night Private Intelligence, the A-Team of the modern world. And Dog the Bounty Hunter has been in Tennessee. It was somewhat of a flying visit. He's now back in Florida, apparently. But this was posted overnight my time. Public update on the search for Sebastian Wainwright Rogers, November 18th, 2024. Earlier today, At Night, in collaboration with Dog the Bounty Hunter and his team of licensed private investigators and contractors, acted on a tip received regarding a potential sighting of 15-year-old Sebastian Wainwright Rogers at a Motel 6 in Goodlettsville in Tennessee. A tip received on November 15th indicated that a teenage boy matching Sebastian's description had been seen at the motel alongside individuals displaying suspicious behaviour. The report included detailed descriptions of vehicles and patterns of activity. Licensed investigators working in tandem for At Night's High-Risk Violence Fugitive Recovery Task Force, or HRVFRTF. Could you come up with a more catchy acronym, maybe? On behalf of Mr. Rogers, initiated surveillance. Teams observed activity matching the tipster's description, including the presence of a red sports car and behavioural patterns consistent with the tip. Investigators identified 2 rooms of interest at the motel and noted individuals entering and exiting the area. A teenage boy was observed entering one of the rooms, prompting the investigators to immediately escalate the situation. At approximately 4:47 p.m, the Sumner County Sheriff's Department was notified and responded to the scene promptly. At the same time, At Night alerted the National Centre for Missing and Exploited Children and the FBI's Operation Rescue Me, transmitting a full report of findings to federal authorities. Responding officers quickly arrived on the scene and determined that the individual observed was not Sebastian Rogers. Whilst this outcome was not what we hoped for, it underscores the importance of reliable tips and the public's involvement in this case. Moving forward, we remain committed to following every credible lead. Today's events highlighted the precision and coordination required in this investigation, and we are encouraged by the responsiveness of public and law enforcement. How you can help? Call the Sumner County Sheriff's Office at 615-451-3838 or the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation at 1-800-TBI-FIND. Not Dog the Bounty Hunter's tip line. Look, maybe some people are more comfortable contacting Dog the Bounty Hunter's tip line, but honestly, a quicker response could have been achieved if people had just contacted law enforcement from the outset. That's just my opinion. You know, my opinion from afar. Dog the Bounty Hunter and his lawyer, Joseph Lesniak, have been on Court TV. Now, part of this came out a few days ago, and they've now released the full episode. This is Vinnie Politan investigates, but not Vinnie, someone else was standing in his place. And this is the kind of thing that I'm not liking from Dog the Bounty Hunter's involvement.
Once Sebastian was in the front yard, and Chris Proudfoot was screaming at him, and he called him a retard, and Sebastian hit the ground and started bawling. So, I mean, you know, all these, what is the old saying, all roads point to Rome?
All roads lead to Rome. A lot of these tips that they're getting in did the rounds early in the investigation. That was from one of the supposed neighbours. But look, guys, there's no way that we can prove that any of these things actually happened. We know that at least one person who contacted social media was a fake neighbour. However, Dog the Bounty Hunter is running with these kind of things that have done the rounds ages ago. And he's publicising them on Court TV. I don't like that. I just don't like that. I think if they're searching for Sebastian, great. But look, stay neutral. Talk about Sebastian. Stay neutral. Other tips that they've received have come from Oregon and New York. Are these all reliable tips, though? Or is Dog the Bounty Hunter out there just chasing his tail?
This is like almost obvious.
Well, it's not almost obvious, is it? If it was almost obvious, Sebastian would have been found by now. Again, stay neutral.
Well, if they were involved, though, Doug, then one would think they didn't have a ton of time. They didn't have a ton of sophistication, one would think. Where is Sebastian, and how could they, let's say the worst did happen, how would they have gotten away with it? Is this a shoddy investigation from day one?
Well, you know, somewhat.
Well, no, it wasn't a shoddy investigation from day one. This guy's right. They didn't have a ton of time. How could they have pulled it off? Chris wasn't even in the area. We've talked about all of this. We've gone over the timeline many times. The surveillance cameras would have caught people moving around in vehicles. Not moving around on the ground, but moving around in vehicles. We talked about all of this. This is all old news.
You know, somewhat. It's the police office, it's the TBI. I guess their lead guy is ahead of it. So, yeah, you know, put blame where it falls. That guy, it's just incredible. I can't believe that. You know, but what so far what our leads could say, there is a manhole right in front of the Proudfoot's property. And they said, yeah, the drone or the cops, somebody said, they flew drones in there. And there's like 3 foot of mud, okay? Then a dog, a really good dog, 2 of them, one of them stopped at the edge of the pond that was drained, and the other one jumped in the pond.
Well, it's actually more than that. So Max, the German Shepherd, jumped in the pond. He was one of the first responders. And then 3 other dogs. including a bloodhound, a blue tick coonhound, and another dog a few days later whose breed I've never been able to ascertain, all followed the same path from Sebastian's front door, up Kelling Lane, across the construction site, which looks different now than it does on Google Maps. They went straight to the pond. The pond was drained. It has been walked. That thick mud has been walked. He's not in that retention pond. Now, look, the things that Dog the Bounty Hunter are saying regarding manholes is a valid one. I've got a video about that I did a while ago. There's absolutely the possibility that Sebastian may have fallen down a manhole and his scent was trapped there, and as the water moves, it moves the scent that would have congregated in the retention pond. But what Dog the Bounty Hunter is talking about is the manhole in front of Sebastian's house. Well, how could he have got down the manhole in front of Sebastian's house? Well, someone put him down there, I hear you say. But how could they have? How could they have done that? What I'm talking about, which I think is way more plausible, are the open manholes that were on the construction site that people who walked that construction site saw, because the whole place was under construction and the drainage was in. The ground was being levelled after the drainage was put in, but, you know, all that infrastructure, you know, the manhole covers and all of that stuff wasn't there yet. So what I'm saying is a very plausible theory, is that Sebastian fell down one of those and somehow he's got stuck there and somehow they've missed him. That's one of my plausible theories that makes absolute sense in my head. And that's after the Caleb Harris case in Texas, where, you know, a grown-ass man found his way somehow into a pump house that was connected to, you know, the drainage in that area. So had he fallen down an open manhole? We don't know how he got down there. But could that have happened to Sebastian? Absolutely yes. Absolutely yes. And there's no drones or anything that's going to see him from overhead. Yes, they have specialist equipment that can go down into those manholes, but I'd like to see all that system checked again. I would honestly. So, Dog the Bounty Hunter, yeah, the tenacity's there, but it's more like a Scooby-Doo operation than, you know, the A-Team. They love it when a plan comes together though, don't they?